I call this work session meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, Tuesday. But we met on Wednesday last time. Tuesday, October 21st of 2025. The time is 3 p.m. Ms. Trevino, let's see who's here.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Here. Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
And Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Okay, and our citizen comment period. Do we have someone who wishes to speak? Since there's only one, I won't talk about the yielding time, et cetera, but you do have a timer up there. I think you may be aware.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing me to be here today. My name is David Case, 440 Stagecoach Trail, San Marcos, Texas, 78666. I'm here to recommend or provide my support for the conceptual planning agreement with Upward Communities. As my capacity on the City Hall Hopkins City Center Advisory Committee, we received a fantastic presentation last week. And it's a P3 component to this. I think it's something that can really unify our downtown or unify our community as a whole, but also provide some significant economic investments to our downtown area. I ask that you please consider this for your approval later this evening. And then, of course, San Marcos Sights and Sounds of Christmas, very near and dear to my heart. I hope we will support that organization as well. Volunteered with them since 2003, served on the exec board since 2011, and now I'm ex officio on that committee, or organization. So as for your support with that, and I thank you very much for your service, and thank you for allowing me to stand here tonight.
All right, and Ms. Trevino, that's the only person I had on my list?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're ready to roll on to item 1.
Receive a staff presentation, hold discussion regarding the draft historic preservation plan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today's first work session presentation is an update on the final draft historic preservation plan, the city's first ever comprehensive document to guide preservation policy. A key goal of the 2024 Vision SMTX comprehensive plan, which is also reflected in the City Council strategic plan, is to protect and enhance San Marcos's natural, cultural, and historic resources through neighborhood stabilization and thoughtful, compatible growth with the adoption of a citywide historic preservation plan identified as a vital action step. The historic preservation plan process kicked off in the spring of 2024. Stakeholders with vested interests in historic preservation were interviewed and a community survey was conducted, garnering over 400 responses. Following 2 open houses and a public review period, over 300 comments helped shape the draft final plan. San Marcos is a growing community with diverse, unique places and histories that are not yet fully reflected in its preserved heritage. The plan presented today balances the many voices and experiences by our community to create a shared vision that honors the past while guiding the future. Today, we'll present an informational overview of the plan. The final plan will be prepared for consideration by City Council at the beginning of next year in January. The presentation will be delivered by our Historic Preservation Officer, Allison Brake, and Emily Reed, Principal with Stan Tech. I'd like to hand it over to Allison to kick off our presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's not evening yet. Good afternoon, council members, mayor. I am Allison Brake. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer and the project manager for the city's first ever historic preservation plan. I am very excited to present to you on this very important project to our community. And while this is the first formal presentation to the City Council on this plan, I know that several of you have been involved in some way. You've either stopped by our open houses, you've provided comments on the plan itself, or you have attended our pop-up events, and for that support, I thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second to get set up. Okay. Having a bit of technical difficulties, but that's okay, because I went analog too. So preservation plans, like other planning documents, provide guidance, recommendations, and assistance with future decision makings. They're not mandates. They don't require the city to take action on a particular subject or take action in a particular way. And many municipalities include a dedicated historic preservation chapter in their comprehensive plan. So while our recently adopted comprehensive plan does not feature that standalone chapter on preservation, it does incorporate several preservation-focused goals. These types of goals are also echoed in the downtown area plan and the Blanco Gardens area plan, as well as many of our other area plans that are in development. You might hear me call it the preservation plan or the HPP, but I am talking about the same document. The preservation plan serves as a community strategic roadmap for future preservation efforts, providing a comprehensive overview of federal, state, and local programs, policies, and while analyzing the local conditions. That analysis is what informs tailored goals and strategies that are designed to strengthen and enhance the community's preservation program. Historic preservation plans are typically updated about every 10 years, so it's the development of this preservation plan that is encouraged for cities to participate in the National Park Service's Certified Local Government Program. San Marcos has been a member of the Texas's Certified Local Government Program for over 35 years, and in good standing, I might add. And this allows us to compete for federal and state grants related to preservation. Speaking of grants, I just want to take a moment right now to talk about the funding for this important project. A majority of the project is funded by the Capital Improvements Plan, but in April of last year, the city was awarded a $5,000 matching grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This is a national nonprofit organization that lobbies for preservation policies and funding. They steward almost 30 historic sites that are open to the public and provides resources and support for local preservation efforts through grants, technical assistance, and funding, or in training. We are very fortunate to have received this funding support for the project through this grant from their National Trust Preservation Funds. These grants are designed to promote local preservation efforts by supporting ongoing work and helping to kickstart new initiatives. In our case, this grant is helping to fund a portion of the project. And one of the key requirements of this grant is that the preservation plan must be formally adopted by the end of February of next year. Although San Marcos holds the distinction of being one of the oldest settlements in the country, our preserved history does not currently reflect our diverse population. Recognizing this opportunity to elevate San Marcos's diverse history and to tell a more inclusive and complete story, the city contracted with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. in 2024 to develop our first ever standalone historic preservation plan in order to evaluate our past preservation efforts and guide our future policies that are in balance with broader planning and community development objectives. Protecting and enhancing the natural, cultural, and historic resources of all San Marcos communities through neighborhood stabilization, thoughtful growth, and compatible development, as Ms. Reyes stated, was a goal of the 2024 Vision SMTX Comprehensive Plan, and adopting a citywide historic preservation plan was an action item that was identified to achieve that goal. That is also echoed in the City Council Strategic Plan. This plan has been in development for a little over a year, and we're looking towards February formal adoption. Developing the plan involved speaking to a variety of different people throughout this process, and Stantec began by interviewing stakeholders that have a vested interest in historic preservation in San Marcos in the summer of 2024, and this was to gain an understanding of our community's experiences, preservation values, as well as the current preservation climate. These stakeholders represented a cross-section of the community and included homeowners, representatives from underrepresented groups and cultural groups, members of the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as city staff. These interviews then helped create a community survey, and this was to engage a broader audience. And the survey was digitally available in English and Spanish on the project webpage, as well as hard copies were available at the Planning and Development Services Office, the Activity Center, and the San Marcos Public Library. About halfway through that survey period, in order to help broaden participation on that survey, staff hosted a survey pop-up at the public library, and as a result, I'm proud to say that a total of 426 responses were received. 423 were in English and 3 were in Spanish. We also held 2 community workshops, one about this time last year in the fall of 2024, and one just recently this summer during the public review period for the plan, which was June to July. As always, we provide take-home toolkits at each of these events so that community members who cannot participate at the event, or sometimes there's just too much information to digest, they want to take home that information and provide input, or they want to take it to their neighbors who can't participate. This is their way of providing input. 89 people attended across those 2 workshops, which resulted in 313 comments being received. And the draft plan comment period resulted in 389 comments. 210 of them were from the public, and 179 of them were from the Historic Preservation Commission Steering Committee, which was made up of Chair Rogers, Commissioner Baker, and Vice Chair Speed. A summary of the community outreach can be found in the appendix of the plan. And through that community survey, it was not surprising to find that the community values and strongly supports historic preservation. In fact, there are residents who participated stated that they want more historic properties to be identified and designated, and they also want the city to provide more information about local history, economic incentives, and the city's preservation efforts. Community engagement is an integral part of our development planning process, and we just really wanted to continue that strong, that's a strong focus of our department through this development of this preservation plan. The Historic Preservation Plan begins with an executive summary that provides the reader with a broad overview of the document, what it contains, why the city set out to create it. While Chapter 1 discusses historic preservation generally throughout the nation and the state, along with various governmental agencies that are involved in preservation. You can think of this chapter as Historic Preservation 101. Chapter 2 includes a timeline that outlines our history, so San Marcos's history, and intertwines it with national and statewide history. Chapter 3 reviews the city's demographics, the current historic districts and properties, community partners, cultural and natural resources, and our past preservation projects, activities, and events. Chapter 4 briefly summarizes our governmental structure, including departments who manage programs that are adjacent to preservation, and provides an evaluation of current preservation efforts. Chapter 5 is where you will find the findings from the assessments in prior chapters, with goals and solutions that are tailored to the strengths and weaknesses of our current preservation processes and programs. In this plan, the solutions are our recommendations. The implementation matrix is the tool that will help to guide and monitor progress made on achieving these goals, while the appendix provides references for abbreviations, acronyms, and terms used throughout the plan, summaries of all public outreach methods, as well as the responses and resources for potential funding sources. I do recognize that this document contains a lot of information. It's a substantial amount. However, each element plays a critical role in developing and shaping those recommended goals and solutions. This type of detail and depth is really necessary in order for this plan to be comprehensive and well-informed. But the design of this plan is to, it's flexible, so if you're really only interested in reading about our goals and solutions, you can go straight to Chapter 5. The goals in this plan are community-driven and reflect input from the public, city staff, and successful historic preservation planning strategies nationwide. They are shaped by the public's desired preservation efforts and by what matters most to them, the places, the people, and the stories. In addition to considering communities' historic preservation aspirations, these goals are based on an assessment, again, of on the current state of preservation in San Marcos. These goals are organized into 5 different focus areas, and each of those focus areas include subcategories within. Those 5 focus areas are administration, survey and recognition, economic development, signage and wayfinding, and engagement and education. We're always strategic and intentional in trying to tie what we hear from the public and review of our processes back to the plan and the recommendations within it. So with each focus area, you will find the key findings on the left of the page, and these are the ones that draw from the public input, as well as a review of our existing codes and processes. And then on the right of each of those pages, you'll find tailored solutions or recommendations that respond to the strengths and challenges of San Marcos's current preservation programs. You'll also see that some goals include snapshots that highlight partners who could support successful implementations of these specific solutions. You'll also find included throughout the plan case studies of similar communities to San Marcos that have experienced successes with a specific solution. This one on the screen highlights San Antonio's successful deconstruction ordinance, which could be similarly implemented here in San Marcos. And for those of you who don't know, deconstruction is just the process of selective dismantling of a structure. It's usually done in the opposite order that a structure is built, and this is to increase and maximize the amount of material that can be reused. San Antonio has a successful deconstruction and circular economy program that includes their Material Innovation Center, Living Heritage Trades Academy, as well as Community Tool Library. Again, I recognize that San Antonio is a larger city, but it's nice to see case studies like this because it does show that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I will briefly walk through each of the focus areas and highlight those few key solutions that show how we take what we hear out in the real world and try to translate that into actionable recommendations. Starting with the focus area for administration, this is where we want to aim to improve and where needed, expand existing processes and tools to strengthen San Marcos's preservation program. Some key findings under this focus area include that the implementation of this plan will likely increase demands on city staff. And while our Historic Preservation Commission's membership doesn't currently reflect the diversity of the city, there is progress that is being made on that front. On the screen, you can see two of the recommendations which speak to supporting that specific issue. There are a lot of strong recommendations within this plan, but currently the Historic Preservation Program is staffed solely by the Historic Preservation Officer. In order to grow that program and shift some of the focus towards implementing the goals of the plan, additional staffing to handle the routine tasks and allow for a more proactive approach might be necessary. And if the commission is to reflect the city's diversity, engaging with neighborhood associations, residents, local community groups presents a valuable opportunity to identify and encourage candidates to fill those seats. The solutions under the survey and recognition focus area target documenting the historic places that define our unique character. This work helps to ensure that these resources are preserved, maintained, and celebrated for future generations. Having a thorough inventory of cultural and historic assets not only deepens our understanding of the city's past, but supports future preservation efforts and fosters public engagement by making this information accessible to the community. Key findings under this focus area reveal that San Marcos's preservation efforts yet don't fully reflect the city's diverse histories. Many properties that meet the age criteria for historic designation, which I will just remind you is 50 years or older, remain unsurveyed or unevaluated for their cultural or historical significance. Additionally, there are untapped opportunities to share a more inclusive and comprehensive narrative of our past, like designations for the cultural districts that's done through the Texas Commission on the Arts. To support these goals, recommended solutions include developing thematic context statements to better document San Marcos's history and support future designations, and partnering with community groups to pursue cultural district designation through the TCA for neighborhoods like Dunbar. This can also help to broaden what we preserve and what we know about our city. Solutions under the economic development focus areas where we would like to update, refine, and where we need to create new incentive programs that hopefully will encourage investment in San Marcos's historic resources. Key findings show that most properties in our city's designated historic districts are mostly residential, and therefore most of them are non-income producing, so therefore they are ineligible for federal, state, and historic tax credits. And there are no local tax incentives for historic preservation, which can create financial challenges, especially for those who might inherit these older homes. Again, these properties are often 50 years old or older, and these are the ones that are usually at risk for being sold, demolished, or sometimes lost to neglect. And sometimes these structures also are tied up and have legal challenges tied up with them. But on a positive note, the city's adoption of the International Existing Building Code in 2021 has made it somewhat easier to adaptively reuse older buildings. This just offers a more flexible path towards preservation. One of the most frequently mentioned topics during our community outreach was the need for some sort of funded program to support home improvements. So particularly, it's those historic aged homes that aren't designated, and some families just don't want to be designated. But they also might still value their cultural, the home's significance. The community also expressed strong interest in creating a local tax incentive for designated properties. Again, those are properties that are within a local district or are a local landmark. And there is interest in finding ways to help descendants retain family properties that have been passed down through generations. And on the screen, you'll just see two of those particular solutions that might help that. Solutions under the signage and wayfinding focus area is where we will look to update and expand existing efforts to strengthen placemaking and improve access to San Marcos's historical and cultural resources. Signage and wayfinding are powerful tools for connecting people to San Marcos's past, and there have been interpretive panels installed at trailheads and parks at city-owned landmarks like the Merriman Cabin or the Cock House. This focus area also notes that community organizations like the Council for the Indigenous and Tejano Community has played a key role in advancing this work. They are the ones who have secured our most recent state markers. And this really just highlights the importance of having community-driven storytelling and the need to make our shared history more accessible and visible. In order to accomplish these goals, some recommended solutions include creating a bilingual local wayfinding program and requiring developers to fund on-site interpretive panels and use site-specific history when naming roads in things like a new subdivision. Our last focus area is the engagement and education focus area, where we aim to update, enhance, and expand existing programs to inspire greater public involvement in preservation. By embracing, more creative approaches, hopefully we can tell a fuller and more accurate story of San Marcos. We have a unique opportunity to tell this representative story through creative approaches like art and murals and interpretive experiences. The community emphasized the importance of art that reflects our diverse heritage, and there's potential to elevate underrepresented voices through the partnerships with local artists and preservation groups. Additionally, guided or self-guided walking tours are not regularly offered or promoted, but this just presents another opportunity for deeper engagement. The two solutions that you see on the screen speak to supporting these goals. It's really through the collaboration with diverse groups that we start to uncover these untold or undertold stories and bring them to light. And creating walking tours just so that preservation can be fun. The project schedule that you see on the screen was built around the city receiving the grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation that I mentioned earlier that's funding the portion of this project. This plan has been in development for some time, but as I mentioned earlier, in order to meet and be compliant with the grant requirements, the plan should be formally adopted no later than the end of February of 2026. This extensive adoption process outlined mirrors the comprehensive plan and area plan processes, and this just gives all pertinent boards and commissions a chance to really take in and digest the information in the plans before bringing it back before you all for adoption. While not required, we did provide an update to the Historic Preservation Commission at the beginning of October, and last week we brought it to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then in November we will be taking it to the Neighborhood Commission as well for an update. And given that this is a final draft of a plan, there is still opportunity for you to submit feedback. So if there are any significant omissions that you might identify, or if you have suggestions for improvement, staff would just ask that those comments be submitted no later than November the 12th. And this allows us the adequate time to really review that and then integrate that into the final plan before that final plan is presented to the Historic Preservation Commission on December the 4th. And that is when the formal adoption process will start. So after the HPC meeting, we will take that final plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation. And staff anticipates that this final plan with the recommendations will be forwarded to the city council on January 20th, where no action will be taken, but there will be a public hearing. And then following that, on February 3rd, there will be a resolution, a public hearing with action taken on a resolution. And so you can view that draft plan. It's online. The adoption schedule is online. You can look at our past events along with the responses that we've received, all at the plan's website, which is sanmarcostx.gov/HPP. And again, just at this time, I want to acknowledge everyone who has provided input. This is, the first time we're doing something like this, so it's just been really great to see everybody's involvement and support of this plan. We all share that same vision to strengthen, the preservation of San Marcos's historic and cultural resources. And I think that this plan is the tool that will help guide us to that. And that concludes my presentation. I thank you for your time this afternoon. If there are any questions, myself or Ms. Reed will be able to answer them for you.
Council, questions, comments? Anybody? Well, I'll start. I'll admit I have not read every word of this, but just thumbing through, I love the presentation. It is just so clear. The document is just, it's just easy read, and it's just beautiful.
Thanks.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Brake. I believe I got some questions over to you and just wanted to share with the council just in case y'all were feeling the same way. It was a really well-done plan. I had a good time reading it. There was a lot of things I had no idea about. So when we talk about the potential partnerships with organizations and groups, I saw listed in later in the part of the plan where the Indigenous Cultures Institute was included. And so it was just small things like that that I caught and just wanted to explicitly put it out there that we will be partnering with them as we've already done in the past on stuff like this. In addition, there was a section that talked about the 5 Black women who desegregated Texas State. I know, we've talked about that in the past, and so I just wanted to make sure that we incorporated their names onto the actual plan, because there's other portions where we discuss various things, and their names are included. Another one was getting into the actual redlining of it all. And so do you want to kind of share your response to that? I can maybe tell y'all sort of the question. I just asked, during the discussion, research, and planning phases of, actually creating this plan, was there any information on the history of redlining in San Marcos? There's a lot of talk about land use throughout this plan, and so I just wanted to see, just out of curiosity, what that entailed.
Sure, and I don't know if Emily, if you want me to take a stab at it. Okay, so it was just part of our research. San Marcos was not included in that homeowners loan corporation of the 1930s, the redlining program. That system was really created for larger metropolitan cities like Austin and San Antonio. I think San Marcos was probably just a bit too rural at the time. That doesn't mean that these things didn't happen here. Like there could have been discriminatory lending practices or segregated housing practices. We would probably need to do a deeper dive on that, but we can definitely include language within the plan that references this. We do talk about urban renewal somewhat, which is really what impacted a lot of smaller communities. So we can just make that more clear and elevate that a bit within the plan as well.
Yeah, so I didn't know if all of council needed to say yes to that but it was just something I
we good?
caught.
I'm not seeing.
Yeah, that was it. Other than that, it was a really great plan. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
thank
thank
you for
you.
all y'all's work.
I do agree that whenever there's something significant, such as the first 5, as they're referred to on campus, that we always want to include the people's names.
Okay, those are easy fixes that we can get in.
Yeah, that's easily found. Okay, anything else?
Well, as you're reading it, by November 12th, if you see something missing, let me know.
Well, I'll start that this weekend. We'll start making our notes as we go through, because a little bit of this I lived through. I noticed something. Okay. So wonderful. Thank you, and thank you. Thanks to all your staff, and thanks to all the people who took their time to come in and make comments, because it's the community input that's always so helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trevino, let's roll on to item 2.
Yes, ma'am. The city council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code: A, Section 551.074, for personnel matters, to deliberate regarding matters related to the meet and confer agreements with the San Marcos Police Officers Association and Professional Firefighters Association. B, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, to receive legal advice regarding 1, enforcement of the wastewater industrial treatment program, and 2, the amendment of boundaries and the available options for adding projects to the River Bridge Public Improvement District authorized under terms of a settlement agreement with the original developer of the land. C, Section 551.072, real property, to deliberate regarding the possible sale, lease, or exchange of land for development of a new city hall.
Looking for a motion? Motion by Ms. Rodriguez.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez. Ms. Trevino, are we push button today? Later?
No, we could do that
Later?
this evening at 6.
Okay.
Yes. So, Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Selva Gonzalez? Ms. Garza? Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
And Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent.
All right, and we will go into executive session at 3:31. We have returned from our executive session that we concluded at 5:25. And it's my understanding that we do not have anyone who has signed up for question and answer with press and public.
That's correct.
Okay, in that particular case, there being no further items on our agenda, we have adjourned the 3 o'clock work session. Thank y'all.